All right, guys. Just a quick video on listening, a little bit about communication, and then making apologies. The two are tied together. We can't talk about apologies unless we at least acknowledge a few things about communication, because you have to be a somewhat decent communicator or have some emotional intelligence to, first of all, be aware enough and recognize that maybe you've hurt someone's feelings or done something, some sort of wrongdoing that inspires you or motivates you to make an apology, all right? And not get caught up in who you think should apologize first, or, what all the different things you can read into what, an apology means other than just saying, I'm sorry. So a couple of listening tips real quick is paraphrasing, right? Hopefully this person, you are able to discuss what happened, and you're basically listening to them, say maybe what they feel like you did wrong or what hurt their feelings. And so making sure that you're listening, your nonverbals are, acknowledging that you're listening, that you're interested, that you care about what they're saying. You can do things like paraphrasing, repeating, probing for more, for missing information. And this isn't like the kind of probing for information about trying to win an argument. This is really trying to figure out like, what is at the heart of, what caused so much pain, because maybe you feel like they're upset about something that is, maybe a little bit bigger than what they're sharing. And so good questions always to ask are, say more about that or tell me more about that. And you don't have to ask really specific questions. You can just kind of probe them to, to say more about it, to share more about it. And then clarifying any, points that you have questions about. And again, just remembering what they're sharing so that hopefully you can avoid the same situation or a similar situation happening in the future. All right, so let's talk. So just keeping that in mind, right? Just making sure you're doing those things, you're being a good communicator. And we have, an entire 1 or 2 day lesson on communication, but just being able to be a good listener and hearing what they're hurt, right? Being able to truly hear that, not take it personally, not get defensive about it, just hear them out, right? And then realizing that you have the power to apologize, okay? And apologies can be really difficult for some people. Some people, super easy. They'll apologize right away. They don't read into it meaning a bunch of different things other than that they are sorry for what they did. But a lot of folks do struggle with that. They feel like that they did something wrong if they apologize, and that makes them a bad person because they did something wrong. So it does take courage, all right? You do need to admit that you were responsible for certain things that happened in a situation, all right? So you can't be in denial. You can't blame someone else. If you blame somebody else, there'd be nothing for you to apologize for, right? So you have to be accountable and kind of own what you did. You have to own your actions, your lack of actions, maybe words that you said, maybe words that you should have said and didn't, whatever it might be, okay? And another thing that can be difficult for people when, avoiding making an apology is because maybe they did something that they feel so bad about, they don't even want to see that other person. They feel terrible. They just want to pretend it never happened, et cetera, et cetera. So that can be a whole nother reason why apologies can be difficult for some folks. Okay. Let's get to that point though, where you feel like, okay, yep, I had some responsibility in what happened and I can apologize for that. I can be an adult. I can, be accountable for that and own my own part in what happened. All right. So when you get to that point, step number 1 is literally just showing remorse. Okay. Not faking it, not pretending that you're sorry when you're not, but actually being honest with yourself and then being honest with that other person or other people. And just starting with what you are sorry for, okay? Being genuine, looking them in the eye. I think we all remember probably if you have any siblings being forced to apologize to them or them being forced to apologize to you. I know for me, when I was a kid, I would be forced to apologize to my sister and it would take me like 3, 4, 5 times before my mom would, accept that apology, because maybe I'd be staring at the floor or the ceiling. I'd be sarcastic in my tone. It didn't come off as authentic or genuine, right? So I had to look my sister in the eye, say it like I meant it, right? Those sorts of things. And that's going to be really important, because just the words "I'm sorry," that's not going to be enough, all right? If they don't feel like you truly are, it's really not going to mean anything to them, all right? So if you're not ready to apologize, just tell them that. Just say, hey, I need more time. I need to think about this more. I need to process it more, because you really do want it to be genuine. And, if you can't rush it, you can't rush it, right? You need to get to that point where you truly do understand your part in what happened and are ready to be accountable for that, all right? So when we talk about above the line and below the line stuff, probably going to happen when you're above the line. Probably not going to happen when you're below the line. It's just not going to be believable. You aren't really going to probably mean it. All sorts of things along those lines. All right. So that was step number 1. Step number 2, admit responsibility for your actions or behavior and acknowledge what you did. Okay. So you can say things with empathy, like, I understand how that must have been really frustrating for you, or how that could have really hurt your feelings, or how you maybe lost trust in me from that action, or me not showing, you felt like I didn't show up for you or have your back, right? All those sorts of things. Try to empathize with them. And when you can articulate sort of how they might be feeling, that can go a long ways, because many times that's really what people want out of an apology, is like, hey, just see it from my point of view for a minute, right? Like, just try to understand where I'm coming from. Okay, so demonstrate that you can do that. All right, which empathy is a skill. We'll talk about that, but do your best. All right, try to put yourself in their shoes. Step number 3, making amends. Okay, and this part really isn't up to you. It's really up to them, but the part that is up to you is to put it out there that you want to make amends, right? How can I make this better? How can I make this up to you? How can I make this right? And they may have to think about that for a while, especially if it was a big thing, right? If they really lost trust or are really, really hurt, they might not have any ideas on how you can make it out. They might just say it's just going to take time. And as much as you want the situation and the relationship to be mended and fixed, it might just take time. We've talked about trust. We've all acknowledged that it can take years to build and literally one action to destroy it all, right? Or the majority of it. And so it might be a slow sort of redemption and slow, timeline to repair what was a really great relationship, all right? Other times, really great relationships can be repaired quicker because maybe that person, is able to give you the benefit of the doubt, or just whatever it might be. But ultimately, it's not up to you. It is up to that person who is wronged. All right. So, but at least putting yourself out there and, hey, I want to make this better. I want to make this right. What can I do? Okay. And then perhaps most importantly, other than actually making the apology, is telling them that it won't happen again, and then making sure that it doesn't, right? And this is where that communication piece comes in really key and is really critical, is because if you don't understand what it actually was that you did, you're just faking the apology and kind of saying what you think they want to hear, it will happen again, right? If you don't understand what actually hurt them or what was difficult, you'll do it again because you don't know. Right? So it's really important that you do have a conversation and that you do understand where they're coming from, so that when you explain to them that, hey, I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen again. I'm going to get better. I'm going to change. I'm going to, I won't talk to you that way, or I won't, whatever it might be, or I will do X, Y, or Z. It's important to know what X, Y, or Z is and why it's important to that other person, or you just won't be motivated to do it. All right. So those are the, pretty easy steps. It's not a lot, but it can be emotionally difficult for a lot of people, or challenging for people to do. Things that other folks, especially people who have a tough time making mistakes, will want to offer excuses. They'll want to explain why they maybe did what they did, right? Try to get the other person to understand where they were coming from, so maybe it doesn't seem as bad or might not hurt them as much, but the hurt is already done, right? You can't go back and change that, right? And undo it. So just let all that stuff go. Okay, it's not going to be helpful, especially in the moment. Sometimes you might think like, this really sucks. This is really hard. Is it even, why am I even trying to do all this? All right. Especially if it's not a quick fix. Okay. It might seem like I feel like I'm doing all the work. And you just have to realize that if this relationship's important to you, it's important to build back that trust, right? To build it back, and hopefully even better than what it was at the time. And you got to take responsibility for doing that, all right? So there you go. That is a quick little deal on communication and making apologies. So I think we can probably all relate to and think of people in our lives that maybe we need to apologize to, or we could apologize to, regardless of how big or how small the wrongdoing was. So I would encourage you to practice this. Usually with family members is probably a good place to start, because we make mistakes a lot with the people that we spend a lot of time with. So you'll probably get plenty of opportunities to practice, and the more you practice, the better you will get, and the easier it'll come.